this will be my last cast for at least right now. I might do another one some point later tonight, but I think 3 casts in a couple hours should be enough for one day. My last cast I'm going to do, just because I've been showing nothing but Terran games, is going to be a Zerg versus Protoss on Antiga Shipyard. This will be Fuzzy versus TT1. Antiga Shipyard is actually kind of a cool map for ZvP, so let me get to that in a moment. But first, let me introduce our players. Spawning in the 12 o'clock position on the map Antiga Shipyard, and we have some lag. Oh, that's just me hitting pause. That's what I get for not looking at my keyboard, guys. Alright, spawning on the top position of the map, on the map Antiga Shipyard, we have the red Zerg player Fuzzy, and spawning in the bottom left, we have the blue Protoss player TT1. TT1 is one of the oldest, most established pros that are currently in the scene. He's been in and out of the pro scene. He had a very good showing at one of the MLGs. I think it was Dallas. And after that, he's kind of fallen off. Like, I haven't even seen him in pro events anymore. I don't know if he's retired or if he's just practicing constantly, but I haven't seen this guy in very many places. But I do know that he is a grandmaster on the North American ladder, which is no easy feat. No easy feat at all, and he is against a very powerful opponent. We already saw him dispatch of Complexity Gonzi in a previous cast that I just did, but we'll see how he does against Protoss players. I don't really know very much about the way that Fuzzy plays. I've really only been casting this guy because he was very nice enough to put a replay pack up for me on Team Liquid, and who doesn't want, and if you're a caster, casting high-level games is really like, it's really the ultimate test for you, because these guys, both of them, are better than I am. Straight up, they're just a lot better than I am. But so it really comes down to testing my knowledge to see if I really know what's going on, and if I'm really not just like, you know, full of crap and I don't actually know the game. I have to actually see what they're doing, and I just don't point out obvious stuff, and I can actually like kind of get into the meat of the analysis of what these guys are doing, which is always fun for me, because that's what I love about StarCraft. It's not just the you know, the actions permitted and, like, you know, the ability to control your army, which is fun, but there's also a lot of really in-depth strategy in there if you really take the time to learn it. So we do have a pool first going down for our Zerg player, which is what I think every Zerg player should always do against Protoss. I did a cast not too long ago, I think it was a couple days ago, where I actually said that if you go hatch first against Protoss, you are doing it very, very wrong. We do have a Nexus that is just being thrown down by our Protoss player. He does not have a Forge out on the map. This is very, very dangerous on this map. What TT1 is doing is very, very dangerous. This map is very, very wide. You cannot really realistically wall this off very well with just a Forge expand. Those 4 Zerglings are going to come out. They are going to be able to deny that pylon block that's there, but TT1 needs to get a wall up very, very quickly, or else those Zerglings are going to be able to come right into his base and cause a lot of havoc. He doesn't have a gateway down yet. His Forge is not done yet. It's going to take a little while for that for those photon cannons to get up there. I really hope that Fuzzy is actually able to notice that he's wasting a lot of valuable time that he could be using putting some pressure on TT1, but it looks like TT1 might be able to get that base up. This gamble that he went for by going Nexus first might actually pay off. We'll have to see if Fuzzy's going to be able to do anything, but nope, instead Fuzzy's just going to gamble himself on this one. He's going straight for a fast third, which is one of the most standard responses that I've seen out of most Zerg players when they get pylon block like that. They go straight for their fast third. Now, the thing is that this third is located right next to TT1's main. So if he decides that he wants to go for Warp Prisms or something similar, it's actually only a very short hop over to Fuzzy's third base. So we'll have to see what TT1 has in mind. He is starting up his pro production. He will be taking an economy lead over our Zerg player in the early game. We'll see if he's able to hold it as the game progresses, because once these 3 hatcheries are down, Fuzzy will be able to throw down a lot of drones in a hurry and be able to catch right up to where our Protoss opponent's economy is. We have a queen down right now. She is going to be starting creep spread. Creep spread on this map, if you haven't noticed already, and every Zerg player already notices this, the bases are they're actually pretty far apart from each other. They're not quite as close as they seem. So creep spread is actually very, very, very important in allowing you to defend your third base as Zerg. It doesn't look like TT1 is actually going to be going for any kind of aggressive pressure behind this. It looks like he is just comfortable with the knowledge that he was able to get off a Nexus first build, knowing that his Nexus was down before the natural hatchery can be here. I don't know if he suspects that this third base is here, or I don't know if he's going to be able to scout it either. His robotics facility has not gone down yet. He is just sitting on these two bases with just the single gateway. He is starting his +1 weapon attack. I don't actually know when he's going to scout that this third base is here. Actually, somehow he knows this third base is here. Okay, so that is a very, very big deal. I didn't actually think that TT1 knew that this base is here, but he obviously does. He now has units that are over here on the map. Those Zerglings do not have speed yet. It's going to be very, very difficult for them to deal with stalkers that are going to be harassing this third base. He does have a Zealot here, though Zealot is very, very good at killing drones, but I don't think that Zealot's actually going to get too many drones. Fuzzy is microing those drones very, very quickly, using the mineral walk that allows him to walk through units to go and dodge that Zealot. Okay, now mineral walking, for anybody here that doesn't actually know what mineral walking is, if you select a group of workers and click on the mineral patches, it allows you to walk through other units. It doesn't allow you to walk through buildings, but it allows you to walk through units. This is in the game to allow the workers to harvest without bumping into each other. So it allows you to get a more seamless economy, but if you can also use it in a way that allows you to bypass other units so that you're able to actually like do what Fuzzy was just doing, kind of like walking them in and out of that Zealot so that Zealot wasn't actually able to do very much damage to them. So this is what I meant about that fast third. These 3 hatcheries are allowing Fuzzy to produce a ton of drones very, very quickly. He's already up to 49 drones. He was, even though he took his third and his second slower than TT1 was able to produce his second base, because he's able to produce so many drones so quickly, he's already up to 49 drones. So these two players are even in economy, but TT1 is of course ahead in tech. Roaches are out on the field. He is starting his +1 weapon upgrades on those roaches, and he is now just going for his lair, but there is going to be a period of time where TT1's superior tech actually could do something. He is producing a warp prism, which is a very good idea considering where Fuzzy took his third base, and he does have this pylon up here on the high ground to warp in units to constantly pressure that third base. The Zerglings, they just get speed. Those Zealots do have +1. That makes them very, very good at killing the Zerglings. Okay, here's one thing for you Protoss players. One of the reasons why his +1 attack is so good is because when you have it, it allows those Zealots to hit those Zerglings in 2 swipes. So basically one of these, one of those, that's a dead Zergling if you have +1. If you don't have +1, or if the Zerg player has +1 armor, that it doesn't work. It takes 2 of the to do that. You just need the 1 to kill a Zergling if you have the +1 attack. So that's one of the reasons why +1 attack is so good, especially in the early game, because it makes the Zealots very, very cost effective at killing Zerglings. We do have a sentry drop going down at the third base just to continue to pressure. I don't know if he was actually able to kill too many workers. He wasn't. He's only killed 2 workers so far this game. So Fuzzy is actually doing a very, very good job in holding this fast third base, which is one of the biggest parts about being able to play on this map as Zerg, because this third base is located in such a precarious position depending on where your opponent spawns. We do have Fuzzy dropping creep here. He does have Zerglings here. He is preventing his opponent from taking the third base, but it looks to me like TT1 is just going to be going for kind of an old school build, which is just a 2-gate Colossus build. He isn't going for too much else other than that. He does have that Warp Prism out on the map, but he's not really doing too much with it at the moment. He's going to be clearing out some creep. He does have this observer here. This is actually a really good idea. Remember what I said earlier about the fact that you need creep in order to connect these 3 bases? Well, TT1's doing a great thing in denying this creep. It's going to make it much more difficult for ground ships, especially slow roaches, to get to and from these bases. But is he going to be able to take advantage of the fact that that creep is being removed? It doesn't look like he's really doing much in the way of actually attacking that base anymore. It looks like he's just powering up his economy, getting a good Colossus count out. And for our Zerg player, he is of course getting that Spire that will allow him to make Corruptors to counter those Colossus, but it's all going to come down to the timing. It's all going to come down to when TT1 actually wants to attack. Is he going to wait until he's maxed out? I don't actually know if that's going to be a good idea considering his opponent's economy, but he's producing 7 Corruptors right now, so if he attacks right now, he will run into a lot of Corruptors that can deal with those Colossus, but he doesn't have much in the way of roaches either. He only has 14 roaches out on the field. This combined Gateway Colossus army could do a very good job of dealing with that. Actually, he didn't see those Zerglings. Oh, now he does see those Zerglings. Okay, I was going to say, if that army walked away, those Zerglings could run right into the main base after that army had left it undefended. Okay, so TT1's actually in a very, very good spot right now. He has is that 4 or 3? He has 3 Colossus down on the field. He has a lot of units that he's moving out. He does have that +1 weapon and attack upgrade, and I think Fuzzy might just be able to produce enough roaches to hold this off. This Roach Corruptor army will be the right unit composition to hold this army off right now. I think TT1 might know that. Does he have an observer out on the field over on this side? Does he see what his opponent has waiting for him? It doesn't really look like it. But TT1 is doing a great thing. He is making those immortal. He is making it immortal. Having a few immortals in this army would do a great job in shutting down those roaches. But I think we might have an engagement before that immortal actually gets there. He's cutting off part of TT1's army. TT1 cannot afford to lose those Colossus. One of those Colossus is being focus fired down. One of those Colossus will go down, but he's losing a lot of roaches. Those force fields are actually preventing a lot of those roaches from getting a good firing position, but 2 Colossus do go down. Keeping this Colossus count low is exactly what Fuzzy wants at this point in the game. He can deal with gateway units. He needs to get rid of the Colossus, and TT1 needs to protect those Colossus. He does. He still has 1 Colossus left over, but that is a lot of Zerg units. He can't afford to lose it, and that Colossus does go down. That is a big blow for TT1. He needs those Colossus to deal with these roaches. Roaches by themselves will be able to deal with these gateway units. He needs Colossus to deal with those corruptors. Fuzzy needs to back up, get some more Zerglings, get some more roaches out. That will allow him to deal with this gateway army very, very easily without those Colossus that are able to back it up. And TT1 needs to get out of there. He can't fight this many Zerg units without Colossus backing up. He is losing sentries. He does have an immortal out on the field. He needs additional zealots for those Zerglings, and he does have stalkers. He is warping additional zealots for those Zerglings. So both of these players are making the correct moves, but Fuzzy is very much ahead because he was able to kill all 3 of those Colossus, and he did lose those corruptors, but the trade for those Colossus, because he has a superior economy, is actually a much bigger deal. TT1 hasn't taken a 3rd base yet. Our Zerg player is still ahead of him in economy. He has a higher gas income, which is one of the biggest things we need to remember as in the ZvP matchup, is that both races are equally reliant on gas in the mid and late game. So keeping your opponent on a lower gas income than you really gives you more tech opportunities than your opponent has. We have +2 attack coming down for those roaches. No armor upgrades for those roaches just yet. So those Zerglings are still getting killed by those zealots really, really quickly. And it looks like things might stabilize here a little bit. We do have 1 more Colossus out on the field yet, but Fuzzy isn't making any more corruptors, and he is not actually expanding. He has an opportunity right now because he just killed a lot of units. He has an opportunity to expand to the gold or even to over here on this side of the map. We do have another engagement coming down here. That is a bad position for Fuzzy. Everything is very, very choked up here. So that Colossus is going to be doing a lot of damage to that army. He is going to force that army back, but the rocks being destroyed on this side of the 3rd base is going to allow for a lot of run-bys to really deal damage to this base before it ever even gets started. So TT1 is going to be in a very tough spot. He needs to wait until he's maxed out, because once he moves out, a Ling run-by is going to hit that 3rd base. It's going to happen. So TT1 needs to move out with enough troops to actually kill his opponent before he can really leave that 3rd base undefended. I'm really of the opinion right now that Fuzzy needs to take a 4th base behind this. He is going to be running out of resources at his 2 bases here. Unless he plans on killing his opponent with this attack, he really needs to take a 4th base. That Protoss army is getting very scary. He is up to 160 supply, but he only has 2 Colossus in the army, but he does have 2 Immortals for those roaches, and I think that Fuzzy is actually going to be going in right here. This army is going to be going in. He is going to be able to get down one of those Colossus. Those force fields aren't the best, but they are doing their job and funneling those roaches in the way that he wants it. TT1 is doing a lot of damage to this army, but those Corruptors are going to take care of those Colossus, but with those Immortals in the army, I think he still might be able to deal with this. He needs to counterattack. He needs to counterattack. TT1, your opponent is going to be morphing in 54 Zerglings after that. You need to whittle down that army even further. What are you doing? What are you doing, TT1? Oh, this is not very good for TT1. His opponent's army is very strong. He is making 10 additional roaches and a lot of Zerglings, so he is going to be remaxed a lot quicker than our Protoss player will be. He's only at 126 supply. If Fuzzy comes back with that army, he might be able to just kill him. That is a lot of Zerg units. That's a lot of Zerg units. Still have no hive set coming down for our Zerg player, so it looks like he's really just interested in killing him in the late game with this attack. But here we go. We have Zerglings coming in here, roaches coming in behind. We have a flank coming in. That army is stuck on the ramp. They can't maneuver. There's no room for that army to maneuver. They're completely surrounded. They're making their last stand on that ramp, but it doesn't really look like they're going to be able to do very much. Those roaches are going to be able to kill all those gateway units, and when this army goes down, TT1 is going to be sunk. He's going to have to leave the game. This army is going to for sure die. He does have 2 Immortals in that army, but 2 Immortals are not that good. He's not going to be able to hold the next wave of attack that's going to be coming through here, or he might. Okay, so I called that a little bit wrong. Fuzzy wasn't actually able to kill him in that attack, but now TT1 has been reduced to a paltry 86 supply. Fuzzy is up to 146 supply. He is taking that 4th base finally, and he will be able to remake a lot more units that are going to be able to come down and take care and finish off what TT1 has left. TT1 is, of course, fighting him on top of that ramp. That is going to make fighting the Zerg army a lot easier, because those Zerglings are not going to be able to get the surface area that they need to do their damage. But with 15 more roaches coming out on the way, TT1's going to have to think of something quick. He's not making any more Colossus. He doesn't have the gas income for them. He's really only using gateway units and Immortals to hold this back. That'll only be able to hold him off for so long. He needs more Colossus. I think TT1's just afraid to make Colossus, though, at this point, because he has so many Corruptors out on the field. So he is opting to make more Immortals instead. But we do have a gold expansion going down for Fuzzy. He is getting further and further ahead of his opponent. He's forcing him to stay on those 3 bases, and his army is still very, very small. He's only at 124 supply. If he continues to trade units with Fuzzy, his superior economy is eventually going to overwhelm him. We have another attack coming in here. We have an attack from 2 sides. Those force fields are preventing a majority of that Zerg army from engaging, but like I said, TT1 doesn't really have too much. He is actually being very cost-effective against this army right now. So Fuzzy is deciding that he's going to start sniping some tech. He is going to kill that forge. He's going to try and kill some more stuff with these roaches. He might be able to do it, but a good force field prevents those roaches from getting up that ramp. He is actually funneling him into a corner, so Fuzzy is going to lose all of these roaches, but he is making 26 more roaches behind this, so he doesn't really have to worry about a counterattack just yet. But we have a 4th Immortal coming out of here. We do have roaches over here. I missed these roaches. They are ravaging this 3rd base. All the probes have gone down at that 3rd base, so TT1 is in even a worse spot. He doesn't have probes harvesting from over here. He only has gas income off of 2 base. That is not going to be enough gas to produce the kind of army he needs to kill Fuzzy right now. Fuzzy is making even more units. He is making a Hydralisk Den. He is realizing that TT1 is not making any more Colossus because of that Corruptor count that he has, so he is making Hydralisks. Hydralisks are going to do a ton of damage to the Immortal Heavy army that Protoss has. Now, I know a lot of Zerg players don't like Hydralisks and don't think that they're actually very good for much, but the one thing that Hydralisks are very good for is dealing with a Protoss ground army that does not have Colossus or Archons in it. Now, here's the thing. These Immortals are great. They are great at killing roaches. They do 50 damage a shot to roaches. They will kill roaches so quick. If you have Hydralisks in the army, they don't get that bonus damage against those Hydralisks, and those Hydralisks do, because of their attack speed is so quick, they do a lot of damage to Immortals. So he is going to opt for that Hydralisk attack after, but he is, of course, maxed out. He can't make Hydralisk just yet. We have an additional attack coming in here, but I think TT1 might just be able to hold it. Those force fields are doing a great job pushing the majority of those roaches back, and those Immortals, like I said, are doing a ton of damage to those roaches. We have roaches going into the 3rd base. They might be able to get that Nexus. I don't think they're going to be able to get the Nexus. They are being force fielded back. Fuzzy needs to back up with those roaches. He is not going to be able to kill this base, but he is making 11 Hydralisks behind this, and TT1 is stuck. He is pretty much the 300 Spartans right now. He cannot advance out of this base. He can't really move out without Colossus tech. He's pretty much stuck spending whatever money that he gets in just being able to defend his base, and the Zerg is just getting more and more and more money from all these additional bases. He will just be able to keep hammering TT1 until he eventually dies. His army is up to 2-2. TT1 does not have upgrades on those units. He only has 2-1, and that forge was destroyed. Does he have a Twilight Council? He does have a Twilight Council, but he has no forges to continue upgrading his units. He is now going for a Dark Shrine. I don't really think that's going to do very much, because obviously, as Zerg, once you get Lair Tech, you can, of course, just make Overseers. I think TT1 is starting to realize the kind of position that he's in right now. He pretty much doesn't have enough income. His natural base is nearly mined out, and his 3rd base is his only mining base, and of course Fuzzy is now remaxed, but he does have Hydralisks in this army, so that army is even more dangerous than it has been in the past. TT1 sees it with this Observer, and I think he's just going to start walking in there. Here we go. Here comes the last army. I don't think Fuzzy can hold this one, or TT1 can hold this one. The addition of those Hydralisks will do a lot more damage to that army. You see this? You see how fast everything is? It's just dying here with those Hydralisks behind it. Yeah, TT1 is going to die. Those Hydralisks are the straw that broke the camel's back. He can't hold this any longer. Those Hydralisks are going to finish everything off. Zerglings are going to come through and start mopping everything up. We should see GG in momentarily, and we do. All right, so here's this game was actually really super simple. This is the simplest analysis I can ever do. TT1 went for a pylon block. He got a successful pylon block off, and Fuzzy went for a fast third, and TT1 wasn't able to deny it. So because of that, TT1 has been playing from behind the entire time, and by the time that he was able to get this third base up, he had lost a lot of Colossus and didn't have the gas income to reproduce them because his opponent kept throwing roaches at him. That's what you can do as Zerg against Protoss. Once you gain a small advantage over your opponent, roaches are the kind of unit that, because they are so cheap, but they cost so much supply, you don't want to fight a 200 army with roaches if you can avoid it. Just don't bother. Just throw them at your opponent, let them deal damage, remake them, throw them again, and your Protoss opponent is going to be spending so much money defending his bases from these roaches that he won't be able to get the super tech units that he needs to actually kill you in one shot. That's what Fuzzy did. He got a small economic advantage, and once he was able to eliminate those Colossus with these Corruptors, he just kept throwing roaches at his opponent, and his opponent had to start making Immortals to deal with the roaches, but then once he stopped making Colossus and was very focused on Immortals, these Hydrals were able to come through and finish the job. So, a textbook game of how to play ZvP by our Zerg player that was very well played, and that was fun. I'm glad I got to cast that.